Master Hiroshi was a man of profound calm, an artist who celebrated life, was as serene and meticulously ordered as his Zen garden. Yet, even in this peace, one deep, consequential matter remained unresolved. His greatest treasures were his twin daughters, Ren and Kei. Twins alike in all outward appearance. They possessed an indistinguishable grace and beauty, yet their spirits were entirely unique. Ren, the quiet poet, and Kei, the vibrant musician. Ren and Kei were, quite simply, two halves of a single soul. Master Hiroshi realized any worthy suitor must not merely perceive their individual natures, but also possess the wisdom to cherish their unbreakable bond. The shadow was this: it was time for the girls to marry. The dilemma was immense. How could he secure a proper match for one without sentencing the other to the anguish of separation and loneliness? Master Hiroshi thought, and at last he had an idea. A test. When a suitor presented himself, Hiroshi would summon Ren and Kei, dressed in identical robes, seated side by side, together. News of the twins' striking beauty traveled swiftly. The first suitor, Kenji, a fine young man of suitable lineage, presented himself formally to Master Hiroshi, eager to prove his worth in the upcoming test. "If you seek a wife, not a prize," Hiroshi would intone, his voice low and firm. "My daughters are indistinguishable to the shallow eye. To claim one is to swear you know her." Master Hiroshi's test was this: you may spend an hour in conversation with them both. When you return, you must tell me one thing that belongs only to Ren, and one thing that belongs only to Kei. If you fail, you prove yourself unworthy of a single glance at either. Kenji was welcomed into the tea house. He spent 1 hour with the sisters, desperately seeking a distinguishing mark. But their flawless sameness and composed silence utterly defeated his scrutiny. Soon after, another suitor, Tokishi, arrived, determined to succeed where others had faltered. He was clever and well-traveled, confident that his worldly knowledge would grant him the necessary advantage. Tokishi, too, was received by the sisters. He presented them with complex riddles and intellectual queries, yet he perceived only their shared intelligence. In the end, he, like those before him, was compelled to concede defeat. These failures weighed heavily on Master Hiroshi's mind. To grant one daughter happiness, while knowing the other would forever yearn for her mirror. He descended into deep despair, fearing his fundamental dilemma had no possible resolution. Then, upon a perfect spring morning, a most curious pairing arrived. Two handsome young brothers, Haru and Kato, themselves perfectly identical brothers, would be an extraordinary and elegant solution for Master Hiroshi's dilemma, if they passed the test. The two brothers entered the tea house. Unlike the former suitors, they did not search for difference, but for connection. Haru discovered Ren's contemplative depth, while Kato recognized Kei's bright, joyful spirit. After the hour had passed, the couples parted. The twin brothers stood before Master Hiroshi and offered their profound answers to his test. When they approached, Haru bowed. "Ren," he began, "has a unique way of tilting her head when she is genuinely amused, a silent laughter in her eyes, even if her lips remain still." Then Kato spoke. "And Kei," he added, "has a particular habit of tracing patterns on her sleeve with her thumb when deep in thought, a restless energy even in stillness. We saw not two sisters, Master, but two perfect women. And we ask for the hands of them both." Master Hiroshi, overwhelmed by joy and relief, he smiled wide. His great dilemma was solved. The four young people rejoiced, their hearts filled with mutual love and respect, and Master Hiroshi granted his deepest, most heartfelt blessing to them all. The time for the double wedding arrived quickly, with the blooming of the cherry blossoms. It was fitting, If the couples were a set of matched twins, their sacred vows would be given simultaneously, in a magnificent display of equal joy and splendor. And thus, the master's dilemma was finally put to rest. He had found happiness not just for his two daughters, but for an expanding family. The twin couples, in their great contentment, were blessed to have twins of their own. Together, they lived in harmony, always together, and a family, each deeply beloved. And they lived happily ever after.